The Galaxy S25 Ultra is the most enticing phone that Samsung has ever made. The thing is addictively delightful to use. I'd say this is the closest a phone has ever come to being an iPhone killer, but at the same time, should you actually go out and buy one right now? In most cases, I would say no. Let me explain why. So, on one hand, it's actually kind of hard to describe just how much I love using this thing. I mean, just from a technical materials perspective, the glass being used on the front and back, the now stronger titanium on the body, this is one tough phone. I've been specifically using it without a case to test it. And so far, at least, it's been in a camera bag, it's been in backpacks, pockets, it's been embedded into our table during a failed intro. I even painfully sat here rubbing my wedding ring against it, and there is a little more dust collection than I would like, but zero in the way of damage. Only thing that has unfortunately marked it is a pretty nasty 1.5-meter drop straight onto concrete. But when I saw that happen, I was bracing myself for a lot worse than this. The battery life is even better than last year. It's just under 9 hours of total screen on time per charge when the screen is set to the default 1080p, which means I'm reaching the end of my days with 30 to 40% left in the tank consistently. But also, is this not just like gorgeous? It's like the precise looking design of the phone paired with this almost borderless display that's so vibrant, so crisp, and almost immune to reflections to the point where you don't even need to turn the brightness high to see it clearly, all topped off with easily Samsung's most beautiful software ever. Actually, I'll tell you how you know that Samsung has hit the nail on the head with this One UI 7 Android skin. Drisha, wife and lifetime iPhone user, picked this phone up for the first time, rolled it around in her hands, scrolled for 5 minutes. She looked at me and she said,
"You know what? I actually like this."
She has never said that before to me in the 5 years that we've been together. But I can kind of see why she said it here. It feels like this software is specifically designed to feel familiar to an iPhone user. The icons and widgets are now more in line than ever. The multitasking page is now practically identical. The way that you can now swipe down from the right to pull up your control center and then swipe down from the left to open a separate notifications tray. The way that you customize your lock screen is like, okay, copy my homework and don't even worry about changing it. Would it be even better if Samsung had been more original? Maybe. But here's the thing, I actually think Samsung is pulling it off better than Apple. I love how now when I'm browsing the settings, I can just type approximately what a setting might be, in human language, and the phone understands what I'm looking for. This used to be such a pain before, because you need to remember exactly what the phone labels each specific setting as if you want to find it. The Samsung photo gallery feels way more intuitive than Apple's, who's honestly just massacred their Photos app in iOS 18. And it's also way more intelligent. Like when I'm searching for past pictures, it is spot on. It understands the assignment every time. People always talk about maximum brightness. Oh dear God. But I really like how dim the minimum brightness on this gets. It's less strenuous on your eyes just before bed. And the thing is just so fast. The iPhone always has this implicit reputation as the smooth one, the one that does animations right. Well, I don't actually think that's the case anymore. This Samsung feels blazing fast, thanks to each animation being both very smooth, like the iPhone, while also being tuned to be quicker than Apple's. It gives the phone this feeling of instantaneousness that actually makes the iPhone feel slow by comparison. So why on earth would I not recommend that you run out and you buy this thing right now? Okay. There's a few reasons. In this moment, you can get a Galaxy S24 Ultra brand spanking new for $800, whereas this is a $1,300 phone. It's like 60% more expensive. Okay, that's fine. That happens every year. And usually I am very much on the side of, we use our phones so much, why not just buy the latest one if you can afford it? But this is one of the first cases where I'm still not convinced. First of all, I feel like I've made it pretty clear just how much I love Samsung's new Android skin, but you should be getting practically the full One UI 7 feature set on the S24 Ultra too. This new phone has an even faster chip than last year, like significantly faster. Just to give you an idea, we ran a 30-minute stress test on this S25 Ultra, the S24 Ultra before it, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And while the S25 Ultra does have the lowest stability, meaning that over the course of that 30 minutes, it lost the most performance compared to where it started, because of how high its starting point was, even its lowest performance is still about 25% faster than the lowest of the other two phones. But the thing is, I can't find a way to actually use that power in my day-to-day life. Like I said, the phone does just feel faster than last year, but that's just the software. That's not because of the chip. And in terms of games, I wish the landscape was different. I wish the top 50 games on the Play Store were all just super graphically intense, massive 3D worlds, but they're not. To appeal to the widest pool of people, most mobile games are developed to run on $100 phones. So finding ones that actually benefit from this power is becoming quite a niche endeavor. You'll have to be specifically looking for them. And then also, you can have the most powerful chip in the world, but especially on Android, which is more often than not a victim of lazy developer syndrome, some apps are just gonna lag anyway. So like, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon TCG Pocket recently. It plays completely fine on the latest iPhone, 60 frames per second. Hell, it plays fine on an iPhone 12, but on the 2025 flagship Samsung, it lags. I've noticed this with the Amazon app. It's sloppily programmed. I've noticed it with Zoom calls. Like, the Android app is just laggier, and it seems to run the camera in much worse quality. The list goes on. My point being, having this much power is absolutely incredible, but I don't think the average person is going to notice compared to the S24 Ultra, because most of the bottlenecks come down to software, not hardware. And then there is the AI part of the equation. The majority of the appeal of this S25 Ultra, more so than maybe any phone ever released, is tied to AI. We've been told this AI is only free till the end of 2025, but we still have no idea how much the AI is going to cost. Now, I will say, some of these new AI features are amazing, like AI Select. Game changer. You know when someone sends you a whole paragraph and you just want to copy one sentence from that paragraph, this solves it. Or the ability to quickly screen grab something in a chat to resurface it to the top. So incredible that I have mapped my AI Select to come up when I double tap the side button. Hold to activate Gemini feels like a real step up from Google Assistant. They finally figured out how to get Gemini to do all the basic stuff that the Assistant was good at. And so now the focus is just in what ways can it go further? I think it still does need to go further. I mean, I really wish it could be a full phone assistant. You know, like, call me an Uber to the shops, find me a photo I took of Milo yesterday, open the new Captain America trailer on YouTube. It can't do any of those things right now from the home screen. But still, at least being able to now communicate with complex commands, like, what's a great restaurant in London for a group in which one person has a peanut allergy, one person's a vegan, and one person has celiac disease? Yeah, that's usually what I'm working with.
I found Vantra, a restaurant that caters to your group's dietary needs. And they are also mindful of peanut allergies.
And you can see why that is useful. The ability to go one step further and pull up Gemini Live with the context of what is on your screen, that feels even more next level. Talk live about video.
Oh, never gonna give you up.
So tell me, why did this video become such a trend?
It's called Rickrolling, and it's a classic internet meme.
But why do you think this video specifically became the meme?
You know how sometimes the best memes are just so random? I think that's a big part of it. It's catchy, it's kind of goofy, and that element of surprise makes people laugh.
That's actually the best answer I've had so far from anyone. Now, I haven't quite figured out what exactly I'm gonna do with this capability on a regular basis. I guess most of what I watch on YouTube is entertainment, which you'd rather talk about with another person instead of an AI. But let's say you were watching for information, you could see how it would be a really good way to get a quick summary of the video, or to ask a clarifying question that the video maybe doesn't properly itself answer. The AI wallpaper generation is now probably the best I've used on any phone. It's fast, it gives you some very high quality options that almost always look sharp on the phone's display, and I love the way that the phone will instantly swap out the rest of the user interface's color palette to match. That said, if you actually want to bang a wallpaper, you're probably still better off hopping onto X and just searching for it. I feel like the AI generations, they're like always 80% what you're looking for, but they're way less likely to be the 100%. Oh yeah, and the object eraser for photos is like, wow. This is actually better in my experience than even the one on the Google Pixel. It really does make the people and the objects in the background of your shots feel like they are being snapped out of existence. Now, at the same time, some of these AI features are not so good. Like all of these briefs that it keeps giving me on my lock screen. My morning briefs are usually weather, and here's what's coming up later today on my Google Calendar. Which, sure, okay, I get how that might be useful, but if I want my weather, it is also on my home screen. And then my evening check-ins are like even more weather, which, like, I have a roof, why do I care when I'm about to go to bed? And then a reminder of today's Google events. But again, it's not like anyone's scheduling calls after 8 p.m. This stuff has already happened. And then tomorrow's Google events. Cross-app action, the ability for two apps to communicate with each other, also needs a couple of years in the oven, I think. But even then, I just don't think there's enough to it yet. It's kind of as predicted. The level of intelligence required to understand your request, that exists. But the level of intelligence required to understand the full context that surrounds your request is missing. And without that, it is practically useless. Like, for example, you can say to this phone, when does the Pokemon pop-up come to London? Add it to my calendar. And snap your fingers, it's done. Title, location, timing, everything. But the Pokemon pop-up is open for 4 full days. So how did it decide that this is the day that I'm going on? And how did it decide what time I'm going to be there? These are things that, for this to be actually useful, it needs to truly understand and to be able to run them by me, like a real personal assistant would. The Samsung Now bar that sits on your lock screen feels kinda like Apple's Dynamic Island. It's cool in concept, it's executed in a slick way, but without enough functionality or supported apps to really have any impact on the way that you use your phone. Like, it's got some very specific sports that if you're into it can serve you up notifications that show you current game progress, but like, I'm not a massive sports guy. This only starts to become useful to me at the point where it can understand what I'm interested in just generally. So let's say the fact that I open the Pokemon card app once per day, that's an interest. And then it can ping me when a new expansion goes live within that game. The interpreter mode feels like in moments there's a sparkle. Sometimes it all just clicks and you're actually having an almost real-time conversation with someone in another language. It's just that the vast majority of cases are more, you see in real time on the screen that it has completely butchered the sentence that you're trying to say, and you're out there scurrying to hit the stop button before it translates and you accidentally tell the other person to shave their cat. Oh yeah, and then the ability to record calls with the additional perk to search through the transcript afterwards and AI summarize what you heard. The seamlessness and presentation of this feature is pure Superman. It's just a shame that the execution is closer to the Joker. The phone just does not seem to understand what you're saying. And if it doesn't understand what's being said, it doesn't matter if you can search through it or AI summarize it, it's all gobbledygook. And separately, but while we are on the subject of dunking on this thing, Samsung did a little sneaky here. They have silently removed the Bluetooth functionality of the S Pen. So you can't use it anymore to control your music using air gestures or your camera shutter. Can't say I ever really did much of either of those, but it's still not a good look to see some things moving backwards like this. Anyway, my main point was that yes, there are still some actually new, actually great AI features here. It's just that with every single one of them, you have to put 3 pretty large asterisks next to them. Like A, some of these features, like circle to search and cross-app action, really they're Google features, so other phones will get them too. B, a lot of this stuff will also be coming to past Samsung phones via updates. And the biggest thing, if all of these features are so central to this S25 Ultra, then how on earth do we still have absolutely no idea how much they're going to cost us? I'll tell you why. Samsung is in a very precarious position here. They were very quick to want to take the crown for being the first company to have AI. They very much do not want to be the first company to talk about the downside that comes with that AI. Do you remember the launch of the Xbox One? The single launch that you could argue destroyed Xbox's entire console business. The company essentially told people how they were going to restrict the sharing of video games in this generation of consoles. How if I buy one game, that game becomes tied to my account and I can't give or even lend it to a friend. And by revealing their intentions first, Sony, their key rival, was able to see that everyone responded absolutely terribly to that decision, to realize that no one wanted anything to do with this new Xbox because of it, and then all Sony had to do was to step in and tell people that to share discs on the PlayStation, you just had to hand it from one person to the next. In one fell swoop, the console war was practically over. And that is the exact situation that Samsung is trying to avoid here. Let's be honest, every one of these companies wants to charge you for AI. But if Samsung goes first, then it leaves the floor open for other companies to either come in and charge way less than Samsung to steal their thunder, or even just straight up troll the company by keeping theirs free for another year. So I'm convinced that Samsung is waiting for someone else to say something, but still, these guys withholding this information is very much putting their business in front of their users. At this point, less than a year before they're saying that you're about to be charged, they should be making it very clear how much. And of course, then we've got the cameras. And I'd actually go as far as to say that there are large improvements to the cameras this year. The S25 Ultra does take better zoom photos than last year, it takes better ultra-wide shots, it's got better skin tones, pretty much every single image taken on every single lens is sharper, and the videos look cleaner with less noise too. Not to mention that it now shoots fast enough that I would go as far as to say Samsung's 5+ year battle with shutter lag, I'd say it's finally put to bed. I wouldn't say this is the best phone camera ever. I'd say the iPhone is a little ahead, the Vivo X200 Pro is quite a way ahead, but it's still top 5. Again though, to the point that I'm making, most of these improvements have happened without any change to the camera hardware from last year. So another one of the reasons that I'm suggesting you might want to wait this one out is to see if this camera can get so much better without changing the cameras, then is this again just software? And are they going to bring these improvements to their previous phones? I mean, I'd say there's at least a 50% chance that they don't. won't. They might either decide that if we make our old phones better, no one's going to buy the new ones, or there's just a limit to how much they can improve the last ones because these improvements rest on the more intelligent AI cores of the new chipset. So, to bring this all together, if you're getting a new Android right now and all you want is just to buy the best phone there is, then this is absolutely one of the phones that you should be looking at. There's very little wrong with it, apart from some room for improvement with the camera and some wonky AI features. But if you're looking at it from the lens of value, then it's really hard to say that this phone is better value than last year's phone, since most of the best things about it are already on that phone, coming to that phone, or should be coming to that phone. And a lot of the things that aren't are going to be charged for. So how can I say, yes, you should go out and buy this before we know how much we're going to be charged for to make the most of it? Oh yeah, and we can't forget the fastest way to make friends and our sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Because here's the thing, almost every single VPN has a cap. You might be able to share your login with 2 people, 5 people, 7 people. With Surfshark VPN, one subscription gets VPN access to you, your buddies, and your entire city if you want it to. It's the most stable VPN I've used. The app just works, whether you're on your phone or your computer, and it's one of the most useful Swiss Army knife tools to have in your back pocket. It can make websites that were previously misbehaving just suddenly start working again. It can let you watch streaming content from other countries. It can make your computer think you're back home even when you're away somewhere, so you don't have to keep endlessly re-authenticating your accounts. The list goes on. All topped off with the fact that the value proposition has just gotten even better. With the code BOSS, it's now $2 a month, with an extra 4 months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee.